An insane winter storm is developing right now, and it's about to dump a crazy amount of snowfall over the next 48 hours, with a widespread 1 to 2 feet of snow, impacting huge cities like New York City, Washington, D.C., and Boston. There could even be some places that pick up almost 3 feet of snow from this storm. This winter storm is so rare that we have blizzard warnings in effect for New York City for the first time in a decade. Following this, a major Arctic blast will impact over 100 million people and will lead to more snow chances next week. This winter storm will be a blockbuster across the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. To begin with, we have a slew of watches and warnings across the Northeast this morning ahead of this very dangerous nor'easter. We have blizzard warnings that stretch from Gloucester, Massachusetts, and Boston into Cape Cod, back into Long Island, and also into Maryland. As I said just a moment ago, this is the first time in a decade that we've had blizzard warnings in New York City. Back in 2016, there were blizzard warnings, and we ended up seeing over 27 inches of snow in Central Park. I'm not saying that's going to happen this time, but the history is there. We have a big winter storm, it seems like, every 10 years in New York City, dating back to the 1990s. We also have winter storm warnings in effect in areas like Massachusetts, back into Virginia. There's also some across the Appalachian Mountains, and then winter storm watches, which by the time you're watching this video are likely upgraded to winter storm warnings from eastern Maine back into southern Pennsylvania. Let's talk more about the timing and impacts of this winter storm. And we will begin with what is happening this morning. And we already have a large winter storm that is beginning to form primarily back over in the Mid-Atlantic. We do have some light to moderate snow showers. They're making their way across Pennsylvania near Philadelphia, northern New Jersey, and southern New York. A lot of this snow initially is not going to stick. It's going to stick a lot more once we go into this afternoon. We do also have some light snowfall across parts of Michigan, back into western New York. This is some of that lake effect snow, and we will continue to see snow throughout the daytime today. If you're in Ohio or Indiana, I don't expect significant accumulation in those areas. Later this afternoon is when things are really going to start to ramp up. So this right here is around lunchtime. We will have a large band of heavy snow impacting Pennsylvania, New York, and also northern New Jersey. Right around New York City, we are going to begin to see our first accumulation, and from here, things are only going to continue to get a lot worse when it comes to our snowfall event. And then, once we hit around 4 to 5 o'clock, that is when the snow is going to get very intense in New Jersey, Long Island, back into Delaware and Maryland. Look at all that dark blue. It is basically going to be draping southern New Jersey and even back towards Washington, D.C. We will have large bands of snow also across the Ohio Valley and western New York. A lot of this will be more scattered in nature, but a coating to a few inches of snow will be possible further back off to the west. But obviously, the more important thing right now is going to be this nor'easter, because once we go into the afternoon and evening on Sunday, that is when the low pressure center is going to form and rapidly intensify offshore of the Carolinas and also the Mid-Atlantic. As it continues to track to the north, it is going to continue to intensify. And what that means is that our winds are going to rapidly increase. And I don't feel like people are taking this winter storm seriously enough here in the Northeast. I think we are going to be talking about the possibility of days of closures in some areas, mainly because of the power outage risk that we have, and also the possibility of feet of snowfall in these areas. So this is going to be a very significant winter storm. Once we get closer to 7 o'clock, we're going to have a widespread area of heavy snowfall stretching from Rhode Island back into eastern Virginia, even as far south as Virginia Beach. Yes, we could see some light snowfall even near Raleigh, North Carolina. And once we approach when you're going to be going to sleep tonight, we are going to have a very significant swath of snow, especially impacting the coastal region. So again, Virginia Beach back into Cape Cod is where the heaviest snowfall is going to reside. That is where snowfall rates could be up to about 1.5 inches per hour, maybe an isolated spot in Long Island by this point around 2 inches of snow per hour. And then a large swath of 1 inch of snow per hour, basically stretching from Cape Cod back into western Massachusetts and central Pennsylvania. Notice back out here to the west, lake effect snow will continue, especially in northwest Indiana during the evening and overnight hours on Sunday. A lot of the snow showers, though, across the Ohio Valley will wind down by this point. So, we're going to go ahead and zoom into the northeast, and eventually as we go into the overnight hours, this significant snowfall event is just going to continue all across southern New England and very far eastern portions of Maryland, Delaware, and almost all of New Jersey, by the way, will still have heavy snow overnight. I do want to point out that this low-pressure center will get so intense the pressure will be down to about 970 millibars. We will have wind gusts getting close to 60 to 80 met/mph by this time as we go into Monday morning across these coastal regions. This is going to lead to the possibility of numerous to widespread power outages. And if you live in this area, or if you have friends or family that live here, make sure that they are ready or you are ready for these power outages, because we are likely going to see power outages once we go into early Monday morning. They could even happen as early as tonight, by the way. So again, very dangerous stuff here with this winter storm. Once the sun rises is when this snow is actually going to probably be the most intense out of this entire event, at least if you're in New England. The snow back over here in the mid-Atlantic and also across interior areas of the Northeast, like Pennsylvania, southeastern New York, and back into Maryland, will start to get a little bit lighter. We're going to be talking about snowfall rates around 1/2 inch to maybe 1 inch per hour, but it will still be snowing Monday morning in New Jersey, New York City, and Delaware, and as far west as maybe northern Virginia. And then back over in southeastern New England like Cape Cod, Boston, Foxborough, and as well as Hartford. These are areas that are all going to be dealing with upwards of 1 to 1.5 inches of snow per hour. Significant snow will continue, especially in southeastern New England once we get closer to lunchtime on Monday. And by this point, a lot of dry air will start to eat into the west side of the storm system. So our snow showers will get a lot more scattered by this point, and it will not be anything that organized in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Maryland, but an additional 1 to 3 inches of snow will be possible during the afternoon on Monday. Monday afternoon is where the most significant snow is actually going to be back over here in New England. So areas like Boston and even Cape Cod will still have heavy snowfall. I do think Cape Cod and Nantucket will transition into rain sometime around 3 to 4 o'clock on Monday. So it will not be just all snow throughout this entire event. And then, once we get closer to sunset, the majority of our significant snow will be moving away from the coastline. I do think we will still have some heavier bands of snow for a couple more hours, probably till about 8 or 9 on Monday, back over near Foxborough and maybe back into Cape Cod. We actually could transition back into snow by this point. And then really anytime after about 10 o'clock on Monday, the snow is going to be much more minimal across New England. But the impacts are going to definitely be felt for days to come. And then this is what it looks like as we go into late Monday night and Tuesday morning. Notice the storm system moves away. And guess what, guys? We got more snow coming as we go into Wednesday and Thursday across the Midwest, Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, and Northeast from an Alberta clipper. And we'll talk more about this in just a moment after we talk about the snowfall accumulation and the power outage risk across these areas. Let's talk more about exactly how much snow is going to come from this winter storm. And I'm going to show you 3 different scenarios, and all of which are pretty significant. There's really not one here that isn't significant at this point. So, this is the HRRR. That's the model I just showed you in terms of the future radar. And overall, it's showing again a significant, and even in some cases, a historic amount of snowfall. We'll be talking about the possibility again of a widespread 1 to 2 feet of snow today into tomorrow, stretching from Washington, D.C. back into southern New England and southern New Hampshire. I do anticipate that there could be some locations. I'm not saying everybody, but there could be some locations back over here in southeastern Massachusetts, back over here near New York City and New Jersey, that could pick up over 24 inches of snowfall. I don't think this is going to be a widespread thing, though. I think if it's going to be widespread anywhere, it would be back over in central and eastern New Jersey. Some locations could pick up maybe 30 to maybe even 33 inches of snow. The HRRR does have at least an isolated location here in eastern New Jersey at 42 inches of snow. So, I'm not completely ruling something like that out, but I am very cautious of saying that we are going to see anywhere around 3 feet of snow. Because again, this is a very tricky forecast across the board. The slightest shift to the east or west with this low-pressure center could be the make or break between that actually happening. So keep in mind this is a very tricky forecast, and on top of that, the temperatures are going to be right around or just below freezing to begin Sunday. So that could also hinder accumulating snowfall initially. Now, if we go over to the National Weather Service blend of models, this one is also very aggressive, especially in eastern New England. Areas like Boston and back into Providence are right around 30 inches of snowfall. Foxborough, same thing. Even Cape Cod is talking about over a foot of snow. So again, if you compare these two different computer models side by side, the difference is obviously there, especially New England. But again, across the board here, we are talking about a really major winter storm across the Northeast. For some locations, this would be the most snowfall that we've seen in over a decade. And then, this right here is the National Weather Service forecast, which is going to be more conservative in nature. Most of southern Maine is around 8 to 12. Southern New Hampshire also in the 8 to 12 range. Boston, Massachusetts, really anywhere across Massachusetts back into Rhode Island and Connecticut is at least around 12 to 24 inches of snow, with some localized areas over 24 inches of snow on the table, especially near Foxborough and Providence, maybe on the south side of Boston. And then back over into Long Island, central and eastern New Jersey. This is another area that I would at least expect around 18 to 24 inches of snow from this winter storm. I do think, though, again, some localized areas could see up to 30, maybe even 36 inches of snow, but I do not think that is going to be a widespread event. Across southeastern New York, same thing, looking at around a foot. And then back over into central and western Pennsylvania, we're going to have a really sharp drop-off. I mean, again, if you're in Philadelphia, we're talking close to a foot. But if you're over in Pittsburgh, it's only going to be maybe an inch out of this. And then also across Maryland, like Washington, D.C. I do not think Washington, D.C. is actually going to see a foot. I think we'll be closer to about 6 to 10 inches of snow. I think we're going to have more rain than snow for a lot of the first half of this. So, it could hinder our snowfall accumulation. And then Delaware widespread 10 to 15 inches of snow is expected. Again, this is a very tricky forecast. And I hate to talk about it, but the winds with this winter storm are going to be very high, which is not a good thing. Again, power outages are very likely. Wet snow will try to stick to the power lines, and that is going to cause a lot more problems. So, once we go into tonight, just after sunset, is when the winds will really pick up. This is when things will start to get dangerous. We're talking about widespread wind gusts around 30 to 50 miles per hour. Some areas in eastern New Jersey will already be reaching 60 miles by 8 to 9 o'clock tonight. Isolated to scattered power outages will begin. But overnight into early Monday morning, that's when things really take a turn for the worse, as we will be talking about wind gusts around 50 to 70 mph for Long Island and eastern New Jersey. The very tip here of Long Island will likely get near 80 mph wind gusts coming out of the east and also the northeast. So this is going to be very, very dangerous, and power outages will definitely be widespread by this point, especially if we end up seeing as much snowfall as currently forecasted early Monday morning. This wind is going nowhere. Almost all of Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut will have wind gusts around 50 to 80 mph. Yes, you heard me right. 80 miles per hour wind gusts are possible. We could even have a couple isolated locations as well. Right again in eastern Long Island around 80 mph wind gusts. And then for most of you, the climax will be passed after lunchtime. And then once we go into the mid-afternoon hours, the winds will be gradually lowering across central and eastern New England. There will still be wind gusts, especially near Cape Cod around 60 to 70 mph, even as late as maybe 10 o'clock tomorrow night. And then, once we head into Tuesday, winds will really be dying down all across New England, but blizzard conditions will be ongoing basically all of tomorrow night and Monday, and then very early Tuesday, especially in New England. If you're anywhere in the red or pink shaded areas, make sure that you are preparing for power outages. Have flashlights ready to go. Have a generator ready to go. Charge up your phones and other devices as well. And once we get past this winter storm, more snow is coming by the middle of the week. On Tuesday, some snow showers will be passing by the Midwest and the Great Lakes. This is all accompanied by an Alberta clipper. It will make its way into the Northeast once we go into Wednesday. Some light to moderate snow will be possible. We could be talking about another winter storm once we head into Thursday. Maybe even a severe weather setup here across parts of the Ohio Valley and the Southeast. And then by Friday and Saturday, things clear out. And then, by the beginning of March, nothing is really certain at this point. But I do think another Arctic blast is going to be on the way. So for the next few days, an Arctic blast will dive across the Ohio Valley and all up and down the East Coast tonight and into tomorrow. Temperatures will fall by as much as 30 to 40 degrees in most areas. Tuesday and Wednesday, warm air will build back in across the central and southern plains. But another cold front will make its way across Texas, the Ohio Valley, Midwest, and the Northeast. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday is when warm air will return, and then maybe an Arctic blast somewhere on the first few days of March. We don't exactly know where that's going to happen yet. The insane nature of this winter storm cannot be overstated, as multiple factors are converging to create what meteorologists recognize as a particularly dangerous and high-impact weather event. The combination of rapid intensification, extreme wind speeds, and prolonged heavy snowfall creates conditions that have the potential to produce widespread disruption across one of the most densely populated regions of the United States. What makes this storm truly exceptional is not just the snowfall totals, but the duration and intensity of the event, combined with the power outage potential that could leave millions of people without electricity during dangerous cold conditions. The historical context of New York City's blizzard warnings, occurring only once per decade, underscores the rarity and significance of what is developing. The meteorological setup driving this nor'easter represents a textbook example of how coastal storms can rapidly intensify when all atmospheric ingredients align properly, creating impacts that extend far beyond what the initial forecast might suggest and affecting infrastructure and communities for days or even weeks after the storm has passed.